Hello and welcome to the Capitol Report on NTD Television. I'm Steve Lance. And almost the entire field of GOP 2024 contenders appearing together in Washington, D.C. to address conservatives. What they say is former President Trump is set to take the stage tomorrow. NTD's Iris Tao brings us more.
The Faith and Freedom Coalition's annual gathering here marks the first time that some of the biggest names in the GOP's 2024 presidential race appear on the same stage.
We'll take the oath as the 47th president, and we will get to work on day one.
Addressing the conservative crowd on Friday, where Florida Governor Ron DeSantis
to extinguish the fire of cultural Marxism once and for all.
Vivek Ramaswamy
to end affirmative action in college admissions.
Asa Hutchinson
to address the fentanyl crisis in America.
And former Vice President Mike Pence, who, along with others, highlight the issue of abortion to the many evangelical voters in the crowd.
A ban on abortion before 15 weeks as a minimum nationwide standard.
The gathering here also comes after the recent indictment of former President Trump. Some of the candidates here decry what they call the weaponization of the Justice Department.
They weaponize the Department of Justice against their political enemies. That is wrong.
But some others challenge Trump.
That is a failure of leadership. And you can boo all you want.
And I asked a former New Jersey governor who's running against Trump.
And what's your message to those who booed at you and who support Trump?
I don't think anybody in that room can honestly say, given his conduct, that he's a person of character.
But of course, there were a lot of Trump supporters here, including Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina, Mark Robinson, who endorsed Trump on the stage and got a standing ovation.
Because now, doggone it, is the time for warriors to stand up and get it done.
And former President Trump, who's leading Republican polls, is set to speak here as the keynote speaker on Saturday. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Iris Tao, NTD News.
The White House is staying mum about released IRS whistleblower testimony. The testimony appearing to undermine President Biden's previous remarks about whether or not he knew anything about his son Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings. NTD's legal correspondent Arlene Richards has the details.
In a press conference Friday, the White House was asked about recently released documents that indicate President Biden may have been involved in his son Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings.
Does this not undermine the president's claim during the 2020 campaign and the reaffirmations of that claim by his two press secretaries since then, that he never once discussed his son's overseas business dealings with him?
The White House gave this response.
No, and I'm not going to comment further on this.
We're good.
I'm not. James, let me save you some. Let me save you some breath. If you're going to ask about this, I am not addressing. I know you do more than I'd like you to have. I am not going to address this issue from this podium. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
I just don't have anything to share outside of what my colleagues have shared, and so I would refer you to him and the DOJ. Just not going to comment from here.
The documents released by the House Ways and Means Committee on Thursday contain IRS whistleblower testimony that refers to a WhatsApp message from Hunter to a Chinese businessman. The message states in part that, "I am sitting here with my father and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled." The message urged the businessman to follow Hunter's direction and stated again that he was sitting with his father. But it is unclear whether or not President Biden was actually sitting next to Hunter. The reporter later asked this question.
You've stated that the president stands by his comment from the 2020 campaign that he never once discussed his son's overseas business dealings with his son. And you stood at that podium and you reaffirmed that. Do you stand by your reaffirmation?
The White House press secretary said nothing has changed. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer has vowed to investigate if President Biden was involved in his son's business dealings.
There's a pattern here where the federal government, the deep state bureaucracies have turned a blind eye to Joe Biden. Our job in the House Oversight Committee is to follow the money.
Arlene Richards, NTD News.
Saturday will mark 1 year since the nation's highest court overturned Roe v. Wade, allowing states to once again make their own decision and calls on abortion. Throughout the week, numerous lawmakers held events either praising the ruling or criticizing it. Today, President Biden and Kamala Harris joined pro-abortion activists. Meanwhile, pro-life supporters are rallying in D.C. to put pressure on the administration. NTD's Melina Wisecup takes us there.
A year after the nation's highest court overturned Roe versus Wade, more than a dozen states have imposed stricter rules against abortions. But for some pro-life activists like the ones here today, that's simply not enough.
No, we must take substantive action and treat this for what it is the killing of a little human being made in God's image that deserves our love and our protection. This is a serious, serious issue.
They are using chemicals to murder innocent human beings.
Likening the promotion of abortion pills to the Holocaust, the group rallying in front of the Department of Health and Human Services popped 1,350 balloons to symbolize each time the pill ends a human life. The group calling for federal action against mifepristone as a federal lawsuit plays out over the FDA's approval of the drug.
It's an abortion pill that actually starves a human being in utero, and then the second pill, misoprostol, induces labor and injects the child out.
Meanwhile, President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are marking the first anniversary with Planned Parenthood and other groups in Washington, D.C. Biden is limited on what he can do to loosen abortion laws, but is expected to sign an executive order to strengthen access to contraception.
So we fight for reproductive rights and legislation that restores the protections of Roe v. Wade.
A move that is unlikely anytime soon with a Republican-controlled House.
Our unwavering, unyielding, and unequivocal support for reproductive freedom.
We're celebrating the option to be able to be turned back to the American people where it was before, to be able to make the decision about the value of every single child.
This as a pro-life senator continues holding up Pentagon nominations. Senator Tommy Tuberville wants to force the Pentagon to drop its rule allowing paid time off and reimbursing travel costs for service members who travel for an abortion. That hold will continue into its 5th month, with the path forward uncertain. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Wisecup, NTD News.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.